which makes life move very slow for you, because when you're talking to somebody on the phone who is doing heroin, if you have like 3 things that you want to talk to them about, you might get one of those things through, and it'll take 7 hours or 5 hours or whatever it might be. And I would be on the phone with Mark a lot, where he would pretty much go to sleep on me or something like that. And it was happening since before I got involved with him.
Hey, Marty. Here. Okay, here. What's that? H. H? What's H? That's a lot. It's heroin.
I hate the way in music documentaries, like Behind the Music or something, that bands, the way like people talk about the drug use or whatever, like the music kind of gets all kind of sappy and things sort of slow down, and it's like this big pivotal point in this musician's career or whatever. To me, when bands like Aerosmith or whatever, they'll like just talk about their deep addiction, and they'll kind of glorify it, like their Toxic Twins t-shirts with Joe Perry and Steve Tyler, and they're all like, we did mountains of Peruvian blow and did a lot of heroin and partied like crazy. And then they go, but don't do that, kids. It's really bad. To me, it's kind of embarrassing, It's like, I was a total cliche. I was a rock guy strung out on heroin, and actually for a while in there was going out with a stripper. It's like, how did this happen to me? Of course, I walked through all those doors myself.
When he started doing hard drugs, like a couple of his friends, told me I had to do something about it, or talk to him. And I was like, well, I don't think that's my place. I'm all for personal freedom to, you can fuck yourself up if you want, he's a smart guy, so we never really talked about it much.
I think like the first time anyone in Mudhoney caught wind of it that I might be doing it, there was a rumor that I went into the emergency for a drug overdose, and I don't know how that got out, but I OD'd several times. Went to the Harbor View emergency. Those guys had heard that, and I was just like, what? No way. That's not me.
People do drugs because they're fun. Like it's not always like can be explained away like, oh, they're self-medicating or they have like some kind of, painful something. It's like, well, it's kind of fun. And then the fun factor gets pushed away because it's an addiction too. And it gets chemically, you're just getting more and more fucked up.
It really got boring after a while. I was able to like go through this period with heroin and come out relatively unscathed. I didn't die. I didn't get AIDS. I did get hepatitis C, which I didn't find out about till many years later. That was like the only thing where like, wow, this shit actually bit me on the ass. After I stopped doing heroin, I was playing in this band Blood Loss, and one of the members of the band was doing heroin at the time. I remember like people would ask me, man, isn't it really hard to be in a band with this guy, like just after what you've gone through? And it's like, no, it's a reminder of what I don't want to be. It wasn't like I saw him and was like, man, I'd really like to be like that. It's like, I'm so glad I am not that way anymore. It was, and actually that was a real important part of the process for me.
Hi, I'm Kurt Loder with an MTV News special report on a very sad day. Kurt Cobain, the leader of one of rock's most gifted and promising bands, Nirvana, is dead.
It was a real kick in the pants to the entire grunge scene, Seattle scene.
No one wanted to know anything more about Seattle and us because it was such a sad tale. The only bands from Seattle that were doing well that year was like, the Presidents.
Moving to the country, I'm gonna eat a lot of peaches.
Like they wanted happy music now, They didn't want more of us, We were back working with Jack for the record, and almost seemed like a restatement of what our sound was. It was grunge, damn it.
health issues that had been resolved. There was a whole bunch of new songs that were well rehearsed and seemed well arranged and ready to go.
There was one song on there that Courtney Love thought was about her. So she called the CEO of our company, who had worked with Kurt before and knew Courtney.
We did a record at Reprise. We would go down there. There was always like kind of a courtesy meeting with the president, you know.
The band was in the building, was at Warner Brothers in Burbank on that day. And it was Mark Garner's birthday on that day. The cake was being brought to Mark with the candles on it. When I get a call from the CEO, I pick up the phone. He has no idea that Mudhoney's in town. And he's like, you know those Mudhoney guys? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I never want to see those guys again. I mean, you know, we're putting the record out. I hope it does great, but I never want to talk to those guys again. I'm like, what are you talking about?
You know, David was like trying to arrange the meeting with him. He heard back that there was no way in hell that he was going to meet with us because of the song Into Your Shtick.
I never want to meet those guys. I never want to shake their hand. I never want to have my picture taken with them. And Dave told us that. And I'm like, really? I go, that bums me out, man, because that's all I've ever wanted to do was have my picture taken with whatever the fuck his name is. Who gives a fuck if you want to meet us or not? Fucking asshole. Thanks for the bottle of wine you might have bought me at a dinner sometime, but still, fuck you.
And he's basically saying, you know, I got a call from Courtney and she's going back into therapy because they made a song about her on this record.
Why don't you blow your brains out too?
Many people think it's directed strictly at Courtney Love. It's a much broader shot than that, but she definitely fits. You know, of course, this is a year after Kurt Cobain killed himself. I was pretty angry with how that whole thing went down.
The line is so much more about the industry. It's so much more about all those people who take art and try to push it so hard through the financial filter.
The thing that kind of frustrated me the most about that whole time period was, like, we did this 2-week tour with Nirvana, and just seeing the way they had organized themselves. A lot of the people that they had hired to work for the band were really gross. Didn't seem like they had anyone in the band's best interest at heart. They just wanted the band to keep going so more money could be made. And we had a couple of shows with Pearl Jam booked about a month later. And at the time, the perception was Nirvana was the underground band that came up through Sub Pop, and Pearl Jam was the major label band or whatever. And we were just like, God, can you imagine how bad it's going to be